Welcome to Life So Far. I'm Rich Bryant and I sit down with everyday people from all different backgrounds to hear the wisdom and stories from their lives so far. Thank you so much for stopping by and I really hope you enjoy this next conversation. Today I'm delighted to sit down with a good mate of mine actually, James Bignill. Everybody I've talked to so far has been a friend, but James is the closest friend I would say. So that's an award for you.
I feel privileged, my friend.
That's an honour.
My closest friend.
So first question is to set the scene. I've just said your name's James Bignill. How old are you?
Yep.
So how old are you?
Well, I'm 26. I actually told someone the wrong age. I had a daughter salesman come the other day and I said I was 25. And then he's like, what's your birthday? I was like, I'm 26. So I'm 26.
26? Wow. Man, you're old. You're an old.
Oh, speak for yourself.
What do you do for a job?
I'm a pastor down in Ormo, part of a bigger church, Gateway Baptist Church, and one of the campuses down in Ormo on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, awesome. And then where were you born?
I was born in Cairns, so like 20 hours drive. Fun fact, I like to say that Cairns is actually further away from where we live now than Melbourne is.
Is it
like
really?
People don't realise that.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's not necessarily further. It's kind of the same spot. Brisbane's the centre of the two of them.
Yeah.
I think that blows people's mind.
That's nuts, hey? Queensland is massive.
It's ginormous.
And where Brisbane's like pretty much down the bottom of it.
Yeah, well, Cairns is 20 hours north, so
that is
if you're driving the speed limit.
Yeah, if you're driving the speed limit, which we all do.
As opposed to flying, of course, is what I'm talking about.
Okay, that makes sense. So on that note, what is the best piece of advice you reckon you've ever received?
Yeah, don't drive to Cairns. No, it's a hard question because I've done a lot wrong in my life and I've gotten a lot of advice. So it's hard to pick one. But I reckon that the best piece of advice is for me, and because I know Richard well, I know that we're both kind of like threes on the Enneagram, and so I tend to care a lot about how I'm perceived by others. And the best piece of advice I received from a friend a long time ago was just like, why? You don't need to care what others are thinking. You just do what you do and enjoy that, and people will enjoy you enjoying that. And so I think I've tried to live my life kind of like that, not getting my identity caught in I guess what I'm doing and what people perceive me to be doing, but instead just doing it for fun and not for anyone else, just because that's what I feel like I should be doing.
Does that tie into, do you think that's the same as being yourself? Like when people say, oh, just be yourself. Do you reckon that's similar or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, I think it is similar. Just being yourself, I think, sounds a little bit more naff. I like saying I don't care because it makes me seem aloof and like distant and mysterious.
You need like a leather jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some nice Ray-Ban sunglasses or something like that. But no, I think it is similar. It's just being yourself and I guess unashamedly yourself, but I don't know if I'm necessarily unashamedly myself. It's just about, I guess, pushing through the fear of what others might think.
Yeah.
I have a lot of passions in my life and and they change often, and I like to pursue them. And I reckon if I get caught up in the thoughts of other people, like, oh, James keeps going from this to this and he's spending money on this and then he sold it, he's spending money on something else, then I would just stop enjoying life. But by doing what what I enjoy doing, my life's way more fun for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not caught up in what other people are doing. I'm just doing what I want to do, and I guess unashamedly, but that's a challenge and I'm not really great at doing it, but I'm getting better.
Yeah, I think that's part of life, isn't it? Part of life is kind of being made aware. Either you make yourself aware or somebody else makes it aware to you, and then you then begin that journey of trying to not rectify, that's not the right word, but kind to figure out how that works in your own life. What's the natural...
Yeah, exactly. And even being made aware. It wasn't something... I don't think I would have picked that up for many years later unless someone told me. And Sophie, my wife's like the greatest reminder for me for that. I'll be like, hey, what do you think if I do this? And she's like, what do you think?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I think. Like, we can talk about it. We can discuss it. But ultimately, you're the one who's doing it. You're the one living with the consequences.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, and just checks your motivations.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think there's, as you said, we're very similar. There's times where I've just started, And there has been times where that's been totally fine, but there has been times also where I've needed people in my life to go, no, don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, you need to
persevere.
Yeah, or figure out why you started. Is it worth persevering, or is it not worth persevering? Yeah. So I think it's important. Like, you've got Sophie, I've got Denny, and she does a good job of that as well, of kind of helping you, not telling you what to do, but
keeping us in check.
Yeah. Well, she tells me what to do a lot, but just to help check your motivations behind it as well. So
no, that's good. Would you say Danny's that main person in your life?
I would say so, because I think she's the one who is the bluntest. Can kind of like she's in my life. Like definitely. She can kind of speak. Like she's not worried about how I perceive her. Yeah. When I don't think she is.
When honesty.
Yeah, which I really appreciate, which I think is a important part of marriage. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I'll be like, I don't want to hear your advice right now. But she's quite good at being like, no, stop. Like, you bought that thing, whatever it was, 2 months ago. You haven't even used it. So how do you know that you want to get rid of it? And
that's smart.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we have people in our life like that. Or if someone doesn't have that in their life, they can listen to you now talking and go, oh, maybe that's me.
Yeah.
So that's what this podcast's about.
Yeah, well, it's like a who cares except for my wife.
Yeah.
That's the advice.
Yeah.
But it's not living. I think it's mostly about not living your life for the perception of other people, but living your life for what you want to. And I wouldn't even say what you want to do. For me, being a pastor, I guess what I feel called to do, what I feel like God's put on my life to do.
Yeah, because you can live your life. We're getting deep into this one topic right now, but you can live your life with not caring what people. What am I trying to say? You can live yourself for others, while also living it for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a selfish thing. I don't want it to be a selfish thing. It's more of a
I think that's the difference.
Don't get caught up in other people's thoughts about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, that was awesome. Let's move on.
Sounds good.
What has been your greatest struggle?
Greatest struggle. Yeah, that's another tough one, isn't it?
That's the idea.
That's another tough one. I think the biggest struggle for me, it's probably along a similar vein to the greatest piece of advice. I think it kind of makes sense that they go hand in hand. I reckon the biggest struggle for me is probably getting caught up in what my identity is, like being so caught up in the things that I'm doing and then making that who I am, and getting my identity caught in the things that I'm doing, as opposed to, I guess, who God's created me to be, and all that sort of stuff, and who I feel called to be. And there's like an emotional attachment that happens, I reckon, for me at least, with the stuff that I'm doing. I get really emotionally invested with what I'm doing, and then, if someone attacks that or it doesn't please someone, then I feel really personally attacked. And so I think my biggest struggle is separating the emotion from who I am and what I do.
Yes.
Does that make sense? I think that's my biggest struggle.
Yes. You sort of tie your identity. So do you find that in, like, even in your job title, this sort of thing, like you become that, you can easily become that job title, rather than the person who's doing that job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, as you said, that does come back to kind of what you talked about with the greatest piece of advice. And that, I think it is that the Enneagram. So if you're listening and you don't know what the Enneagram is, do a quick Google search, because I'm not good enough to explain it.
Me either.
But that has been a good key, and I think you probably would say the same thing. It's not the be all and end all by any means, but it's a good kind of thing to help you check your emotions, check your definitely. Motivations.
At first I hated it because I don't like being put in a box.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're this one. I was like, I don't want to be. What's the best one? I want to be the best one.
Can I pick? Can I try each one?
But it's actually been really helpful in helping me understand how I perceive the world around me and how I interact with the world around me, I guess. And so, I think it sucks that it's not one moment that I can think of that's been a struggle. I guess it's like an ongoing battle of trying to discern whether I'm too invested in something emotionally that it's actually going to affect who I think I am.
Yeah.
And it's good to be emotionally invested in stuff, but not at the detriment of your mental well-being or
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, definitely. On the flip side of that, then, what has been your happiest moment in your life? I don't know if I prepped you for that one. But
No, that's all right. Look, there's a couple that come to mind. Like my wedding day was pretty awesome, and I can't remember a bunch of that. It's much further back than I'm willing to admit these days.
It's a blur.
It was Richo was there.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2014, so 6 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Up in Cairns, that was good fun.
Day.
But then I've also just had a beautiful little daughter recently, and that was a pretty special day. That was a long day, but it was a special day.
Yeah. I think it's probably a longer one for Sophie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you reckon? This is another question I didn't prep you for, but like, how have you seen that? How have you changed with the birth of a daughter?
Yeah. No, I like the unprepped questions. They're great. I think there's been a heap of change. I reckon the biggest change for me, and it was the thing I was most worried about, like when, we were planning to have a daughter very briefly before we had one, but what I was most worried about was I'm too selfish to have a child. I'm way too selfish. I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing and take care of someone else. It means I won't get to go out as much, and I'm like an extroverted introvert, so I like to go and see people, but I like time by myself, and I thought my daughter was going to get in the way of that. But I think the biggest change is that I've actually realized that I'm not as selfish as I thought I was, or maybe my daughter's name Zoe. Maybe she's just made me not as selfish, and so it's actually been a real joy getting to care for her and be with her, and we've been blessed with the best baby ever, and so I'm stoked. And I don't know, I guess it changes your outlook a little bit, in the sense of it just reprioritizes stuff, I think. Yeah.
You're living for more than just you now.
Yeah, that's scary. I drive a lot safer, and
that's. I haven't got children yet, but I imagine
you've seen me though. You've seen me change. What do you think has been the biggest change?
I think like this is just off the top of my head.
Worst friend.
I think, you've become a worse friend. I don't see you anymore. We don't play Xbox. You're never online on Xbox.
You're so selfish.
So selfish. Living for yourself. I think you've, and in the best way possible, become a softer person. I have noticed that even just in, and not even just in our one-on-one chats, but in like a group setting, for instance. I think, I don't know what it is. Maybe you kind of are thinking more about stuff before verbalizing it, and
definitely.
not like, and I mean like some of those bigger topics, for instance. I don't necessarily know how Zoe's changed that.
Yeah,
but I have seen that, and I think it does tie in somewhere.
I think it's the perspective thing. I reckon probably.
Yeah,
just realizing that there is more important stuff than yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure it all ties in somehow. I'm not a great theorist.
No. I said that very like point blank. No, you're right. You're not. So, which I guess ties into the next question. So we just talked about how you've had a child now, and so how do you want to be remembered? Like, what sort of legacy would you like to leave?
Yeah. What sort of legacy? I would like to leave a legacy.
That's a start.
I think. Yeah, I reckon that question's probably changed over the years. As a young person, even starting out in ministry, I was like, I want my legacy to be that I built a huge mega church and blah 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 blah. I was super famous and toured the world playing my awesome electric guitar collection. And I think it's probably evolved from that. I probably want to be. I want to leave this earth being known as someone who, how do I put it? Who was there for other people? Who was caring? And I've gotten feedback often that I'm not a great listener because I like to talk a lot, but I'd like to become a better listener, and I think listening is caring for people, and I'd like to just be known as someone who was there, for their friends, who was there for the people they were with, who was there for his family, and I just want to be someone who was there, present.
Yeah, not so much someone who's giving the best advice, or
no, not necessarily. Not someone who's incredibly wise. I mean, that would be great, but I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah,
unless something dramatically changes. But just someone who was always present, who was there, when you needed them to be, someone who was there to help out, to not be exceptionally good at anything, but to try their hardest.
Yeah, which I think that's a great legacy to leave, isn't it? Because I think this is me speaking out of no knowledge whatsoever, but when it's all said and done, it's not necessarily those one-on-one relationships, especially. It's not necessarily you can remember the words that somebody said, but you can remember them being there for a conversation. Or you can remember when you were in grief, you don't necessarily remember exactly what James said to comfort you. You just remember that he was there comforting you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I think I would love to leave that legacy.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, and that's changed a lot, I reckon, even just this last year.
Yeah. And do you think that's changed with Zoe?
Oh,
or do you think it's just maturity?
I don't. Yeah, just maybe. I wouldn't say maturity because I wouldn't say I'm overly matured.
Yeah,
but I think it's just changed as I look at what I think I can do and what my place is, and I think as I see what the future might hold for me, that's probably where I want to push in the furthest and the hardest, and just make sure I'm present and living in the present, not trying to push agendas for people, just be there for people.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Last question.
Yep.
If there was one piece of advice or a piece of encouragement you could give to people listening, what would it be?
Just do everything like me.
Sounds right.
Just base your life off me.
All right, thanks for listening, guys.
No, if there's one piece of advice, look, I reckon, I don't know if it would be for everyone, but I'd like to offer that similar advice that I said right at the beginning, which was just, I believe that we've all been given different gifts and we've all been different passions, and I would encourage people to not let other people shape what your passions are. Spend the time figuring them out, what they are for yourself, and maybe they change every month. That's okay, but have the perseverance to stick out with what you know you need to stick out with. But don't get so caught up in how you think you're going to be perceived. You try your skinny jeans on, you think they're too skinny, take them off. But if you're worried about if other people are going to think they're too skinny, who cares?
Yeah.
The words of a wise leader, who cares?
Yeah.
James Bignill.
Because as people say, most of the time they're more worried about themselves.
Exactly,
anyway.
yeah.
They're more worried about what you're thinking about them than what they're thinking about you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You're scared you're going to fail, and the failure is people laughing at you. Doesn't matter. What is that the worst that what life's going to throw at you?
Yeah.
If it is, then you got an awesome life.
It's true. Yeah. It is so true, isn't it? And I think you can reframe any of those things when you start to really dig into that concept. It can open up so many avenues and doors because you go, you know what, I am just going to go out and try this. And and it's important to kind of get feedback from people who you trust.
Yeah.
But not just go, oh, they don't, what are they going to, and unfounded, what do they think about me? What are they going to do? That's interesting.
Yeah, maybe even a reshape of it as we're talking it through is don't take everything so seriously. It's important to be passionate and it's important to be serious about things, but don't take everything so serious. Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be a fool once in a while, and I think it's actually endearing, and people appreciate when you can do that to yourself, even though maybe in the moment it's really embarrassing and you want to go cry in the corner and cover yourself up with a pillowcase. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But looking back at those moments when you're going to want to be able to laugh at yourself and people will remember that
you're human.
You're human. You made mistakes, and the next time you do it, you've learned from it, and you're able to laugh the last time, and that was the worst that happened. Great. Yeah. You're set for life.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what a good way to end. Everybody take that advice and run with it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be laughing at myself when I listen back to this podcast.
Yeah. Well, then you practice what you preach.
Exactly.
That's good. Awesome, man. This has been so good to chat.
Pleasure.
Thanks for sitting down. Thanks for being open and honest. And everybody listening, hope you got something out of this, and we'll see you in the next one.
Sounds good. I'm excited to hear them all. Bye.
Oh, there's going to be thousands. See ya.
Bye.
I really hope you enjoyed that last conversation. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, it would mean the absolute world if you like and subscribed or left a positive comment. I know you've heard this all before, but these things really do help the channel grow. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next episode.